Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to our latest explainer. Today, we're tackling a concept that's been absolutely dominating conversations across modern spirituality, self-development, and even psychology. We're talking about the bold, highly discussed promise of mastering your internal frequency, or as you might have heard it called, raising your vibration. The claim is that you can raise it so strongly that reality itself almost seems to obey you. Now, I know that's a massive, almost mystical sounding claim, right? But today, we're going to strip away the fluff and break down the actual mechanics of this idea using a structured, step-by-step, completely grounded approach. So right out of the gate, we've got to ask the big question. Can you actually make reality obey you? Let's immediately ground this mystical sounding hook. The universe isn't some giant vending machine, and reality doesn't literally take verbal commands from us. However, and this is a big however, changing your mindset, your daily habits, and your emotional patterns dramatically influences your life experiences. Transforming your internal world is actually the catalyst that forces the external world to respond differently. Which brings us to section 1, the meaning of vibration. What is it really? To get started, we need to strip away the buzzwords. What does a vibration actually mean in a practical, everyday sense? Well, it isn't some glowing aura you can measure with a thermometer. Really, it's just the overall quality of your thoughts, your emotions, your deep-seated beliefs, and your physical energy. When these four internal elements are aligned with optimism, clear intention, and well-being, life literally begins to respond differently. You start seeing open doors in places where you used to only see solid brick walls. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how perfectly it maps out the emotional spectrum we bounce between every single day. Look at this side-by-side comparison. On one side, we've got high vibration states, things like gratitude, joy, purpose, and confidence. On the other side, low vibration states, fear, anger, chronic stress, self-doubt. And listen, we all experience both sides. That's just a part of being human. The goal here isn't to become a robot who never feels fear again. It's simply to recognize when you're operating in a low vibration state and consciously choose to shift your baseline back up to those high-frequency emotions. Moving right along to section 2. Stopping the energy drains, or how to eliminate low energy. This right here is the easiest, most immediate win you can possibly get. Look, before we add any new complicated practices to your plate, we absolutely must subtract the habits that are actively draining our energy. I'm talking about constant negative news, toxic relationships, endless social media scrolling, self-criticism, complaining, gossip, mental rumination. Think about it. If you're trying to cultivate joy and purpose while simultaneously doom scrolling for 3 hours a day and gossiping with negative coworkers, you're basically pouring water into a bucket with a massive hole in it. Eliminating or even just heavily reducing these low vibe habits is actually the absolute fastest way to elevate your baseline. And that brings us to this crucial takeaway. Energy flows where attention goes. If your mind is constantly focused on problems, on scarcity, and on everything going wrong in the world, your perception will literally just tune in to find more evidence to support those exact fears. It's like your brain is a giant filtering machine. You have to choose incredibly carefully what you consume mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. That perfectly sets up section 3, mastering your emotional state and cultivating elevated states. You see, people with a truly powerful presence don't wait around for their circumstances to magically improve before they decide to feel better. They deliberately regulate their emotions. Let's walk through visualization, which is a highly effective, practical habit for this. First, you close your eyes. Then, you see the details of your desired reality vividly in your mind's eye. But here is the absolute most important part. You have to actually feel the excitement as though it has already arrived. The subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's vividly imagined and what's real. It responds incredibly strongly to repeated emotional imagery, making your goals feel real and attainable right now, deeply in your nervous system. Breathwork is another incredibly powerful tool in this kit. Just 10 minutes of conscious, deep breathing actively calms your nervous system and significantly drops your stress hormones. And this brilliantly illustrates how the physical body and the emotional state are intrinsically linked. You can't always just think your way out of stress. Sometimes you literally have to breathe your way out of it. It physically shifts your emotional baseline by pulling you completely out of that exhausting fight or flight mode. Let's step right into section 4, aligning your habits and environment to shape your reality. Okay, so now that you're cultivating this really strong internal state, you have to ensure that your external environment and your daily physical actions actually support it. Highly sensitive people, especially, tend to absorb the moods of everyone around them, so you have to create energetic boundaries. This means spending time alone regularly, limiting exhausting interactions, getting out into nature, ensuring you get enough sleep, and, beautifully, learning to say no without a shred of guilt. I really want you to remember this. Protecting your peace is absolutely essential. It's not selfish. It's a fundamental requirement for maintaining the clarity and resilience you need to shape your life. A huge part of aligning your habits is physical, too. You have to move your body. Whether it's walking outdoors, strength training, dancing in your kitchen like nobody's watching, doing yoga, stretching, or going for a swim. Physical movement changes emotional states incredibly rapidly. If you're feeling stuck, literally get up and move your body. It releases built-up emotional tension, renews your mental focus, and gets that stagnant energy flowing again, simply by shifting your physical state. I want to break the fourth wall for a second and ask you to really question yourself right now. What do you genuinely believe? What do you say out loud every single day? And what actions do you repeatedly take? Be honest. Because if you deeply desire abundance and success, but you're constantly complaining about how broke you are and you take absolutely no disciplined action toward your goals, your internal signals are completely conflicting. You're just stalling your own momentum. Pure alignment between your thoughts, your words, and your actions is what actually creates tangible results. And when you finally align those things, you build this unshakable self-belief. And let me tell you, confidence acts as a massive energetic magnet. You don't just wake up confident one day. You build it through small, consistent daily steps. Keep the promises you make to yourself. Celebrate the tiny victories. Actually track your progress. Practice positive self-talk. And focus heavily on your strengths. People who trust themselves naturally recognize and attract opportunities that everyone else completely overlooks. Finally, Section 5, the real secret, a profound identity shift. We've talked about boundaries, daily habits, and emotional regulation, but the overarching secret is exactly this, a profound identity shift. Who would you need to become to experience the reality you desire? I want to force a beat of silent reflection here. Just think about that. How would that future version of you think? How would they speak? What kind of boundaries would they uphold? The secret is actively embodying those future qualities today. By doing that, you transform your identity right now. And when your identity changes, your decisions change, and ultimately, your results completely transform. To summarize, the core truth of this entire explainer, it's all about becoming so aligned that opportunities naturally reflect your transformation. We aren't using magic spells to command the universe, right? Instead, our perceptions, our daily choices, and our behaviors are the profound psychological tools that are deeply shaping the lives we create. When you cultivate gratitude, discipline, and self-belief, the world responds. True manifestation is actually an internal revolution. It's about, as the quote goes, becoming so internally transformed that the life around you can no longer remain the same. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. If your external reality is just a mirror of your internal frequency, what is your life reflecting back to you right now?